If I was his program director, I'd send him back to put on some more professional attire. He looks like the guy who I would pay to clean my pool. I know what you're thinking. Why does a socialist have a pool? You wouldn't understand. It's a socialist thing.
There is currently 4 minutes to showtime.
I hope this show isn't too long. I have a pot full of unspecified meat on the stove that needs tending. Ken Webster, huh? I've seen cadavers with more presence than him. Why does this schlemiel have 2 computer screens? There are those who can't even afford 1 screen. Unless you count their smartphones, which in that case renders my argument completely useless.
Please stand by. There is 3 minutes and 30 seconds to showtime.
Is Pursuit of Happiness a libertarian show? God, I hope not. I'm sure all he'll talk about is pot and sex workers. I bet this schmuck wears sandals with socks.
The show will begin shortly. Please stand by.
Pursuit of Happiness should be called The Search for My Xanax. I'm sure this will be awful.
In America, you have a right to be stupid.
3 minutes to showtime.
The show will begin in exactly 3 minutes.
Not that I approve of Xanax, mind you. I can't stand Big Pharma. But that's neither here nor there. Does this man know people can see him before showtime? It's a little voyeuristic for me, but I just can't look away. It's like watching a monkey in a zoo. Not a particularly handsome monkey, I might say.
The show will begin shortly. Please stand by.
2 minutes and 30 seconds to showtime.
Hello, this is Bernie Sanders. Thanks for tuning in to see Pursuit of Happiness Radio on Facebook Live, which is a very fancy way to witness right-wing propaganda. I wonder if I took my blood pressure medication today. I'm sure I'll need it for this train wreck of a man.
It's incendiary, it's offensive, and people can get hurt.
I guess I should have a snack while watching this dreck.
This train wreck will begin in 2 minutes.
Please stand by. 2 minutes to showtime.
I'm down to lightly salted almonds and cinnamon rice cakes. However, I'm sure Pursuit of Happiness Radio will for sure run my...
Hey, everybody. Good to see you. Happy, what day is it? It's Tuesday. I'm sure it's Tuesday. I've had a couple people point out that the new streaming software we're using, for some reason, it has closed captioning in it. And I don't know why Facebook does that. It's Facebook, too. We're on multiple platforms now, Twitter and YouTube. But if you're watching us on Facebook and you don't want the closed captioning, I can't say I blame you. At the bottom of the screen there, you will see a little white circular settings button. It kind of looks like a star icon with, 10 little points, rounded points. Click that and you could turn it off. Hey, and share this video if you don't mind, and invite your buddies. And sound off in the comment section. Let me know where y'all are located today.
Pro-life, born-again, overweight, Asian, homophobic, lesbian broad who cuts herself.
The show will begin in 1 minute.
Whoa! I think we got a show.
Oh, yeah, we got a show.
We definitely got a show.
Oh, yeah, there's a show.
This show is not high on my list of priorities.
The show will begin shortly. Please stand by.
Is this part of the show?
This show sucks.
I need a flowchart to explain all the ways in which that was ridiculously insensitive.
The show will begin in approximately 30 seconds.
What the hell are we doing on this show?
What the hell? He's getting his own show?
What is this? An opera? What a jerk! I came to see a show, not to watch this jerk while he types and drinks his soda water. Hello, this is Bernie Sanders. Thanks for tuning in to see Pursuit of Happiness Radio on Facebook Live, which is a very fancy way to witness right-wing propaganda.
Please stand by. Pursuit of Happiness Radio will begin shortly.
Government sucks at doing stuff.
You're listening to the Pursuit of Happiness Radio. Good for you.
The government are a bunch of clowns.
The Pursuit of Happiness Radio.
Guns don't kill people. The government does.
The Pursuit of Happiness Radio.
The American government lies to you.
The Pursuit of Happiness Radio.
It's the government, all right? People don't work there because they're geniuses.
The Pursuit of Happiness Radio.
We have less brains in Washington right now than we've ever had since we've been a nation.
when they reopen, which is good. I mean, but I think they could do the same thing with prostitutes. Just asking for a friend, not for me. Hi, welcome to Pursuit of Happiness Radio. Today on the show, COVID-1984. We'll talk about it. Also, I think we need to make Texas a country again. Can we get that as a catchphrase, maybe on a hat or a bumper sticker? And we're going to take a look at PR bond nightmares. Wayne Dolcefino will be stopping by. He's a journalist. Maybe you've heard of him. And Joe Biden will sniff your hair. Good news, ladies. 713-212-5950. If you want to interrupt the show, I see people are already calling in. Let's start the show with a nice, healthy conversation about globalism. Back in 1984, all of America's pop stars got together and recorded a song. It was called We Are the World. We are the world. We are the children. When they recorded the song, nobody ever anticipated that by 2020, we'd be living in COVID-1984. That's where we are now. Now, for those who aren't quick enough to get the Orwellian reference I just made, let me explain it to you. Kids, gather around. 1984 was a book. Yeah, I know you know that. It's a dystopian tale about government overreach, totalitarianism, mass surveillance, and repressive regimentation of all persons and behaviors within a society. And many seem to mistakenly think that 1984 was some kind of right-wing nightmare, like what the world would be like if it was ruled by Nazis. Not so much the case. In fact, it's rooted in leftism, leftist totalitarianism. Sorry if we're getting a little nerdy here at the beginning of the conversation, but today we're seeing this play out in real time as the World Health Organization, a branch of the United Nations, all globalists, every one of them, the very definition of the term, they say they're going to launch a very important independent study into the origins of coronavirus. And it definitely won't be biased towards China, and they need America to pay for it. No? Us? Yeah. I realize we're all excited to see the pandemic end, so we can get back to normal, or whatever the new version of normal is going to be. But let's not forget why this little disaster happened in the first place. The Washington Examiner reports that the World Health Organization downplayed the threat of the coronavirus and provided cover for China's communist regime, leaving the world unprepared for the COVID-19 outbreak and its costs. You know what? It was a minor lapse in judgment. Not to worry, folks. No big deal. Or was it? It was a big deal. Trump, for whatever it's worth, is putting his foot down. In a letter to the World Health Organization Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, I'm sure I'm saying his name wrong, but in case you forgot who this guy was, he is a violent communist from Ethiopia who actually got his job where he is right now at the World Health Organization with help from the Chinese Communist Party because he covered up a little health scare in Egypt back in the day. Well, Trump's saying no to this guy. United States needs to permanently pull its funding from the UN body and reconsider its membership entirely, unless the World Health Organization commits to what Trump is calling a major substantive improvement over the next month. And it's not likely you're going to see that happen, but I still think it's okay to ask. Trump's not specifically saying what these improvements might be, but he did add that discussions between us, America, and the World Health Organization's leaderships are already underway. Trump is facing criticism, but he's right about this. We're paying for the World Health Organization to give us advice about what to do in times of a health crisis, and they're giving us the wrong advice. Imagine if you were subscribing to, I don't know, some local cable TV network, and instead of getting that cable TV network, you were getting Chinese state propaganda. That's kind of like what's happening here, isn't it? We are, after all, the World Health Organization's largest source of funding. You'd think if we're giving them money, we'd get something back in return. If anything, Trump is too forgiving. He wrote a letter and he gives the World Health Organization the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to share his opinion on that one, but the fact is that the World Health Organization stopped fulfilling its role a long time ago. They were created to coordinate international resources and distribute information in the event of a disease outbreak, but in recent years it's become something else. It's become a leftist regime who seems to use the money we give them to regurgitate talking points about transgenderism and bathrooms. And while the United Nations Health Branch is demanding funding in one hand, the UN itself is distracting us with silly nonsense about gender pronouns in the other. Back before the health crisis started, I felt like social justice warriors obsessing over language rules, what you can and can't say, was a silly way to waste time, and I naively assumed others would agree with me by the time this crisis was over. But here we are again. I was wrong. The UN is using its power to fight on the issues that matter most. That is to nudge people into doing away with shockingly offensive terms like husband, wife, landlord, or maiden name. Yes, I'm serious. Surely this proud internationalist body, formed in the ashes of World War II for the sole purpose of averting further global barbarianism, was pressing matters to attend to, but it seems they don't. They posted a list yesterday of words you're not supposed to say anymore. I'm not making this up. The UN says you need to stop using the words mankind and humankind and chairman because those words are offensive. Okay, well, what do we replace them with? They said, how about the word chair? How about instead of saying mankind, say human species? Get the out of here. Are you guys kidding me? They continue here. They say the term landlord is offensive. Instead, you should start saying property owner. Oh, I feel better already. This is the crap we're paying for? The UN suggests that using family name instead of maiden name will make someone feel better. I don't know who, maidens, I guess. And they also suggest that representative would be a better term than businessman. It's a puzzling proclamation. The official position of the UN that its global citizens no longer use gender language in polite company is somehow supposed to improve the world while we're all starving to death during a global recession and at least thousands of people the world over are still dying from coronavirus. There are no shortage of people making fun of the UN right now for this. The entire agenda of the UN hinges on this strange idea that solving economic, social, cultural, and humanitarian problems is why they exist, which begs the question, if that's why they exist, why are they spending time in the middle of a health crisis lecturing us on how the word husband and wife are offensive to people who don't identify as men or women? You know, one of the things I've noticed in our little health crisis we're wrapping up right now, as I look at the number of people affected by this throughout the world, whether they be male or female, black, white, poor, rich, we have information on that. And I noticed the oddest thing. Of all the 72 genders out there that exist, only 2 of those genders seem to have come down with an infection from coronavirus. Not the gender neutrals or the transgenders or the non-binary fluids. How is that possible? How is it that this health crisis only affected 2 of the genders? Maybe the United Nations and the communists at the World Health Organization need to reconsider that right now is not the best time for political correctness. The UN itself puts it nicely. They say, what you say matters. And at this rate, the more the UN says, the less they matter.
This is President Obama. You're listening to Pursuit of Happiness Radio. Pursuit of Happiness, like Will Smith. In that movie, 2006. It was good. I liked it.
Barack Obama loves Pursuit of Happiness Radio. I see people on hold right now from Oklahoma and Houston, Texas, and lots of other places. We'll get to all your calls very soon. But in the meantime, you guys know, during a health crisis, during times like this, there are men and women out there who have served us, who put their life on the line, literally risking life and limb. And the least we could do is try to help them out in times that are as tough as this. That's why I'm a big fan of Wheelchairs for Warriors. What they do is simple. It's exactly what it sounds like. They provide custom-fit, complex rehab mobility solutions to wounded veterans and first responders all over the country, whether they're helping out police officers or men and women coming home from Afghanistan. You know, we saw a report today that said the Afghan government and the Taliban are at odds with each other again. The war over there never seems to end, and it's been going on for decades at this point. My producer is young enough that the war in the Mideast has been taking place virtually his entire life. Well, believe it or not, while many of us have become bored with it and stopped paying attention to it, people are still coming home, American GIs, who are suffering right now. And the government, as depleted in resources as it is, isn't giving them the wheelchairs that they need. If you have a few bucks to spare, if you want to write it off, it's a 501c3 charity. Head on over to wheelchairsforwarriors.com, click the green donate button, make a donation today. You'll feel good about it.
It's crawfish and spray. Homemade tamales and lit.
What up, people? There's a bunch of people on hold, but before I get to any of them, I want to talk to you awesome people. So let's see what's going on in the comment section right now. A few quick reminders. This show now is available on YouTube, Twitter, And as always, Facebook Live. We're also on Spotify. We're on iTunes. There's a lot of ways you can listen to Pursuit of Happiness Radio. I know a lot of you guys know that, but I just like to remind you. We are an old school 20th century radio station with the reach of a 21st century 19-year-old with a Twitch account. Anyway, I say all that to make this point. Greetings to Kyle and Kenny and Amanda, everybody in our comments section over here. Shout outs to Gloria, Debbie. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Stacy. If you haven't already done so, please share this video. I appreciate it if you can. Gloria, good to see you, Gloria. Gloria says this 67-year-old lady is still coronavirus-free. How about y'all? Well, I hope you guys are doing good. Good to see you, Lisa. Let's see. Sweaterbach watching us right now on Twitter. Shout out to Sweaterbach. What's up, brother? Martin says, brah, sub to #Pursuiters. Let's see. That random channel on YouTube says, damn, dude, you really love broadcasting. Well, it's my job. I like having a job. I will say that. It's good to have a job. David says Southern Star opens on Friday. Is POH going to have a listeners event? I would love to do something with them. I feel like we could. It's my favorite brewery. I've always said that. And I haven't talked to Omar recently, but if they're reopening, I definitely want people to go support them. And don't forget, also support Giant Texas Bourbon, a great distillery responsible for making Giant Texas Bourbon and BJ Hooker's Vodka over on the east side of Houston. They got a place. It's right on the east side of downtown. So really, it's downtown, and if you've never been to Ben's Den, that's in the name of their tasting room. They have got great cocktails there, great drinks. You can walk out with a bottle cheaper than you'd pay in a liquor store, and you know Giant Texas Bourbon is a great brand. Ken says, thank goodness I'm back. Haven't gotten any notifications lately. I've missed my POH. Well, we're always here. If you haven't already done so, like this page, follow me on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I'm always here. I'm easy to find. Edward says, I haven't yet to see the CC, now the audio for commercials. Wow. I don't know what you mean by that. Let's see. Vlad says, click on the green icon. Yeah, do it. Stacy and Abita Springs. Shout outs to my friends at Abita Springs. You guys make some good beer over there. Hang on, I think we're going. Mr. President Trump said he's been taking hydroxychloroquine for almost 2 weeks. Meanwhile, Joe Biden's been trying to pronounce hydroxychloroquine for almost 2 weeks. Hasn't been able to figure it out yet. Bless Joe Biden's heart. You know, even though it feels like the crisis is wrapping up, the damage from this little experiment in living in a police state will be felt for months, maybe years after it's over. Sure, the economy took a hit, and violent crime and suicide are already starting to climb in numbers, but let's not overlook one of the other victims of coronavirus. Seemingly imperfect marriages that were already on the rocks. If you and your spouse, husband, wife, or a non-gendered person, one of the other 70 genders, if your relationship was already in an odd, precarious spot, you probably already started looking at divorce lawyers. And if that statement describes you, then you will find this to be a very familiar experience.
And now today's episode of The Married Couple.
Oh my God, that's her. That is her.
What are you watching?
It's called 90 Day Fiancé. This 60-year-old guy went to Ukraine and thinks this 20-something blonde fitness model wants to marry him and move to the U.S.
Oh, wow.
How'd they meet?
She's on a website where guys have to pay a lot of money to chat with girls like her. But she's also making money off a bunch of other American dopes like him who can't meet a real woman here.
I can't believe it.
Huh. Do you know the name of the website?
What?
Nothing.
Join us next time for The Married Couple.
Yo, let's take some calls over here. Let's go to Sean in Oklahoma. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's going on, Kenny? How you doing, man?
I am well, sir. What is on your mind, brother?
Well, you know, Memorial Day weekend is coming up, and I used to volunteer for Danny Beach Memorial. It's been kind of postponed for this year because of COVID-19, and I just wanted to remind people about it. You know, RCC shut down. You know, that creates a whole other dynamic for us and everything. And, you know, we're still trying to raise money to do good things for the veteran community, especially the Navy SEAL community. So What I can do is I can throw a link up in the comments if that's all right with you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we're live on Facebook Live. We're also on Periscope, YouTube. We're on iHeartRadio. So there's a lot of places you could share that link, Sean. But if you tweet it to me or post it in the comment section on Facebook Live, more than happy to support Danny Dietz. Danny Dietz, I'm sure a lot of our listeners will remember, has a little relationship with a local Houstonian in a popular film many of you may recall seeing not long ago. He's a great guy. He was a Navy SEAL, gave his life June 28th, 2005. It's strange to think that was 15 years ago.
Yeah, and, like I said, I've been volunteering with those guys for like 5 or 6 years. I started volunteering when I was active duty. I was not a SEAL. I was a Marine. Did some time in the Army. That's when I started volunteering with those guys, and it changed my life. It really did.
Sean, we got nothing but love for those guys. It's the reason why we partnered with wheelchairsforwarriors.com. It's people like Danny Dietz need to be remembered. I've met his wife before. She's a very sweet woman, and we've had all those people here at the radio station many times. It's a great group of people.
They are amazing people. And when we do get things going again, got a venue to go to and do our party and all that, of course, they're still going to be down in Richmond, Rosenberg at the fairgrounds and everything. The RCC is where we had our kickoff party, where the big auctions were. You'd see like Alan West and J.J. Watt and things like that. So when all that stuff gets squared away, but we got to have donations.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. Yeah, I appreciate you, Sean, man. It's a good fight. It's worth fighting for. And, feel free to drop a link there, man. Hey, Kevin in Houston, what's going on, brother?
Our Attorney General is downplaying, well, there may not be an indictment. If you or I lied to a federal judge, if any lawyer lied to a federal judge on any matter, we'd be making big rocks into small rocks forever.
Sure.
But I don't understand why these people why prospectively our Attorney General is saying, well, we shouldn't be, just because something is bad doesn't make it illegal. I'm sorry.
Right, okay.
So somebody needs to go to jail.
So Kevin's talking about the unmasking of General Flynn. The White House press corps often gets accused, and often deservedly so, of tossing insults at Donald Trump. But last Monday, Washington Post's Philip Rucker asked Donald Trump if he would consider investigating some of these people. Former President Barack Obama committed a crime here. He spied on his political opponent. And it wasn't the first time he did this, Kevin. Do you remember 2013, the IRS Tea Party scandal?
Yes, I do.
Barack Obama
nothing happened in that time either.
Nothing
happened.
They
treat him, and nothing happened.
No, nothing.
Lois Lerner is in retirement and enjoying her retirement.
She sure is, and she pled the fifth on that. Say what you will about Obama. I was there when Obama read his victory speech in Grant Park in Chicago in 2008. It was an exciting time, and they were giving him the Nobel Peace Prize. And Kevin, none of us could have anticipated at the time he was going to become the most violent president of our lifetime. His drone bomb campaign in the Mideast, what he did, what Edward Snowden exposed President Obama of doing, spying on people, using literally just anybody without a warrant, a complete violation of the Fourth Amendment in our Constitution. But, in much the same way, Kevin, that we never really got justice for what Edward Snowden exposed. We never got justice for the IRS Tea Party. If history often repeats itself, and it usually does, do you think we're going to get anything with this General Flynn case?
No, our Republican whatever people are gutless wonders. They let Lois Lerner walk and skate. They're getting ready to let all these people walk and skate after almost overturning a legitimate election in the United States.
Yeah.
Like I said before, people lied. I don't care if it was not the lawyers who carried the brief over. Somebody gave that to them, they lied to them when they said that it was legitimate.
Right, the former head of the FBI. Here's what's remarkable about this, Kevin. It feels like every decade or so, America's patience and trust in the intelligence industry completely diminishes, and then 15 minutes later we forget about it. Liberals, old school liberals, love to talk about how J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI used to spy on Martin Luther King Jr. Could you imagine? Could you imagine they tried to blackmail him? It's so disgusting. And to think that nothing's ever really changed in the intelligence industry in this country, this idea that there is a fourth branch of government, there is a swamp, there is a deep state, and that there's people with career positions, lifelong careers in the federal government, using their influence to try to shift elections, to try to intimidate journalists. Nothing ever changes, Kevin. It sounds like what you're asking me is, why doesn't Bill Barr go ahead and indict some of these people? I'm not real critical of the Trump administration. I for every two things he does, there's one thing I don't like. But that's enough for me to have picked a side here. That being said, I don't always feel like Trump surrounds himself with great people. You may remember Donald Trump's first attorney general, a certain senator from Alabama. What did you think of him?
Milquetoast. He didn't do anything at all.
No.
He recused himself from a most important decision, and we got 2 years of hell because of it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm with you. And it never changed, and nothing ever does. For 3 years now, 4 years, the Democrats have been trying to have this witch hunt against Donald Trump, and Jeff Sessions did nothing. Paul Ryan did nothing. For the first 2 years of Donald Trump's presidency, the Republicans controlled everything. They controlled the White House, the Senate, they controlled the House of Representatives. So you ask yourself, with all that going on, why didn't somebody stop this? Why didn't somebody do something about it? Well, Donald Trump is... his rhetoric on getting rid of draining the swamp is great, but even as the most powerful political leader in the world, we as Americans have created a system where we limit the powers of the president, thank God, and there are advantages and disadvantages to that. At the end of the day, you ask yourself, why doesn't Bill Barr do anything? Well, why didn't Jeff Sessions do anything? Why didn't Paul Ryan do anything? Because these Republicans, they're benefiting off of, as John Walton would have quoted, the Bacon Wrapped Shrimp Club. They get invited to the party, they get around the buffet, they start eating, they start getting the garlic butter sauce and the lobster rolls that get placed out there by the lobbyists, and they go, man, this is pretty nice. It's a lot better being bribed by lobbyists than it is by being a principled politician. And that's what you're seeing in real time here. I don't think we're ever going to get justice for this thing in Russia. I don't think we're ever going to get justice for the Mueller report. It's never going to happen. If anything, at some point, Kevin, people are just going to forget. They'll find a new thing to be upset about. And today, for whatever reason, it appears to be that Mike Pompeo had an assistant who used to go get his dry cleaning, and that's what liberals are upset about. If they're mad about that, why weren't they mad about Sheila Jackson Lee? She's been doing it for decades.
Nancy Pelosi with 20 years worth of a Chinese communist spy in her as her driver.
Dianne Feinstein, but close enough. Yeah, Dianne Feinstein. But it's okay. You know, they're both from San Francisco. She's the senior senator from California. The woman had a Chinese spy driving her around. Nobody cares. It's complete. Now we have a crisis, an international health crisis. Thousands of lives lost, all with the Chinese blood on their hands. Will there be justice? Kevin, it's easy for me to talk to people that pay attention and actually care about this. The problem is most people don't. In 10 minutes, there'll be another fidget spinner or the Tide Pod Challenge or some other dumb thing to distract us. And here we'll be again, having learned nothing.
Yeah, man, it's Jay Ferry. You're listening to Pursuit of Happiness Radio.
We will never be able to clean the stench out of Washington, D.C. If you've ever been to Washington, it's a beautiful city. You walk around and go eat lunch at the Watergate Hotel, check out the National Mall, an incredible place. So much money pours into this little community. It's no wonder they don't care about the rest of the country. Now, you can't wash the stench out of Washington, D.C., and you never will. But you can clean your stinky couch. And that's why I like Oops Steam Cleaning. Oops Steam Cleaning to the rescue. Folks, you know during a health crisis like what we've just seen, you gotta kill the germs. You want your house to be cleaner, right? Of course you do. Oops Steam Cleaning has been cleaning germs way before this crisis was ever even a thing. You're sitting around all day with your Clorox wipes scrubbing down your home. Oops Steam Cleaning was doing that before it was cool. So yes, it's true. We will never be able to clean the stench out of Washington, D.C., but you can clean your stinky couch. Your pet made a mess on the carpet. Oops Steam Cleaning to the rescue. 281-822-0561 or check out their website at oopsteam.com.
So let's hear your idea for the new ad.
Okay, visualize this. We start off with the camera zooming in on the Houston Powder Coaters logo. We get an aerial.
What up, peeps? Let me get caught up on some more of y'all comments. Greetings to Eric Santos, watching us on YouTube right now. Thanks so much for supporting us. Molly says, hello, Kenny. Vacationing in one of your favorite states, Colorado. Most things are closed, but not the dispensaries. You know, I bet you still have some fun there. The great thing about Colorado, and yes, I do enjoy exercising my freedoms while I'm there, just as I do in Las Vegas or anywhere else. But, you know, one of the cool things about Colorado is you can get some food to go, get some edibles, go out to the woods, and just enjoy yourselves out there, and y'all enjoy it. You deserve it, Molly. I hope you have a good time. Greeting to Gresha. Gresha says, greetings from the police state of New Orleans. Oh, bless your heart, New Orleans. Somebody pray for New Orleans. A big tourist city like that is going to take a long time to recover from this. Ken says, Kenny, have you not been doing Facebook Live lately? I've had notifications till... Oh, okay. Well, I didn't do it live yesterday. Some days I broadcast from a studio down the hall based on availability, and I don't have a webcam set up in there. So I haven't done one since Thursday. So it's not you, it's me. But more often than not, people ask me, what do you do? What do you do on days when there's no live video? Well, there's always an audio version of the show. Very rarely do we play a rerun. And for the days when we do, you can always check out the audio version of the podcast. I'm on iHeartRadio. You can get the podcast on Spotify. You can get the podcast on Spreaker. It's easy to find. Just look around for it, iTunes. Let's see here. Beverly says, hey, y'all. Missed you for the last couple days. Still Wuhan free. Well, thank goodness. I'm so glad. John says, where's our child judge stuck in the sandbox? Funny you bring that up. I got to talk about Lena Hidalgo right now. And Kim Ogg. Let's see here. Ted says, today they have subtitles on the video. I talked about this earlier. I don't know why Facebook Live is doing that now, but if you don't want the subtitles, click the settings button at the bottom of your Facebook Live video and it'll go away. Let's see here. Anti-liberal on Twitter, on Periscope, says, they lied. Fuck the World Health Organization. I agree. Judd says, I bet the Muslims are happy we are madder at China than them. Boy, that never happens, does it? Isn't it interesting? Coronavirus has brought some weird groups of people together. Joe Rogan, a Bernie Sanders supporting Democrat, suddenly wants to move to Texas. Same with Elon Musk. I'm sure you've heard about that. A lot of Republicans that don't agree with me on ending the shutdown. Hang on, I think we're going on. Over the summer. Well, at least the ones who haven't sold their car in order to buy food yet. But yeah, I'm sure the remaining ones will. Now, for some time now, Houston's had a problem that's gone seemingly unnoticed by most of your neighbors or your coworkers. But if you listen to talk radio, I bet you've noticed this. Our Harris County District Attorney, Kim, I got the money to run for office from George Soros Ogg, is giving out free get out of jail free cards to convicted felons, even after they get busted for carrying a weapon around. She promised to protect victims back when she was running for office. Instead, she's doing more of the opposite. She's protecting the criminals. She's creating more victims. During the coronavirus crisis, we saw firsthand how bad things can get when we let dangerous thugs out of jail. But this act of freeing criminals was taking place before the pandemic. Most people just didn't notice. One of Houston's most controversial, but certainly most accurate and honest journalists, Mr. Wayne Dolcefino, has been trying to call attention to this problem. Do we not have Wayne? Is he, what's going on with him? No, we cannot reach Wayne Dolcefino. Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll talk about that later. Try him again if you can. But in the meantime, all right, we're going to get back to Wayne in a minute. We want to talk about what's going on right now with PR bonds. It's frustrating, but for whatever it's worth, right now, at this exact specific moment, to the extent and severity of the COVID-19 economic shutdown, they vary from place to place. And one thing almost all have in common is that they're not really enforceable. It doesn't matter what state you're in. The Constitution we have state constitutions, yes, but they have this thing that was created back in the late 1700s. And that Constitution, it applies to all the states. See, people seem to think there's different rules in each state. It's not the case. Well, we may have reached the point where most people are realizing this. Case in point, you guys already know, the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, they decided to drop 200 enforcement investigations into barbers and cosmetologists. The department is also dropping 180 cases that had not moved the complaint stage. So stop tattling on your neighborhood salons. Texans seem to get this. I don't know if others are. We learned this lesson in part because of Shelley Luther, a friend of the show. You've heard her on. And now, of course, thanks to her, we've been able to open up a lot of these hair salons. I still can't get an appointment, but that's besides the point. The licensing department has now gone a step further, saying they're going to allow the reopening of cosmetology and barber establishments retroactively, and thank God they are. In Wisconsin, they're doing a similar thing. In Washington, more than 25,000 complaints about alleged lockdown violations were filed across the state. But as of May 8th, the state's revoked exactly one business license. The government's role in all this has always been more limited than either the bureaucrats drafting stay-at-home orders imagine or the protesters shouting about tyranny fear. Since forcibly quarantining 330 million people was never really possible, the lockdown pretty much wrecked the economy and slowed the spread of COVID-19 over the past 2 months were ultimately based on voluntary compliance. We got him, is that right? Is he on right now? I don't see him. Oh, he dropped it. Well, that's great. Anyway, while we're working on that, don't get me wrong, there's been plenty of heavy-handed enforcement. You may have heard this was taking place in California or Wisconsin and in plenty of other places, but it's been ineffectual and perhaps even counterproductive given that cops who get close enough to issue a citation or make an arrest are hardly practicing social distancing. In many cases, they're not wearing masks. And as it turns out, cops in Texas and New York and a lot of other places have admitted they don't want to enforce these rules. It certainly isn't the reason people have been practicing social distancing, but for whatever it's worth, this remains true in places where governments are fighting to maintain lockdowns as compliance phrase. Places like Pennsylvania, where Governor Tom Wolf has threatened businesses with the loss of their licenses if they go along with county-level reopening plans. They want to move faster than the state's suggesting, but it remains true for whatever it's worth. In Georgia, restaurant reservations are still 90% lower than they were at the same time last year. The biggest benefit that comes from lifting stay-at-home orders is an end to the charade that such lockdown can be enforced. Governor Kemp didn't reopen Georgia. All he did was give people, consumers, and businesses permission to choose their own acceptable levers of risk. You decide for yourself. If you want to end the quarantine, come on out. If you want to keep quarantining, stay in your homes. Nobody's forcing you. There's no rule that says you have to go back to work. Governments at all levels should continue to provide accurate information about what's relatively safe and what isn't. And boy, when I think international health crisis, the first thing I think is empty out those prisons. Isn't that right, journalist Wayne Dolcefino?
Absolutely. And can I tell you something? I am so disgusted about what's going on in the city. I mean, just in the last few weeks, every time I see something on the local news, right, the TV news, someone getting killed, I almost know without having to look that this is a criminal justice failure. I mean, it's not that complicated to know that people are getting murdered almost every day in the city. I mean, it's not like it's an anomaly. This is, I'm serious, folks. This is real serious. Almost every day. You watch the news at night, like this 80-year-old woman that was just killed. The guy had been arrested like 64 or 67 times. I mean, give me a break.
Yeah, it's
what are we doing?
It's maddening, Wayne. I'm with you on that one. Now, a lot of people didn't realize this was going on until the health crisis started because, they started emptying out the jails. But this problem with the PR bonds and Kim Og, this predates the pandemic, right?
Well, it does. And it really began, and I don't want to be partisan. I really don't, because, look, you know me. I'm an equal opportunity offender. If I see a Republican screwing up, I'll do that too.
Same.
Right? This is the result of bail reform, which was pushed by Rodney Ellis, forced into the courts, the commissioner's court, Lena Hidalgo, all those people pushed this. It was sold as a break for people who just did little things who screwed up once. It has evolved because we elected all these very far-left Democratic judges. They now give the worst of the worst a PR bond. People who molest kids, people who kill people, people who are like aggravated assault. They're out for like $30, $50. They walk on the streets. That's not what we want. And then you have Kim Ogg's office, and I have been documenting this. You know, the guy that went on that rampage, right? Killed 3 people last week.
Joshua Kelsey, is that his name? Joshua Kelsey?
Yeah, Kelsey. I did a whole video on it. I want people to watch it on dolcefino.com. But let me tell you something. This guy got plea deals from Kim Ogg. This guy that killed the 80-year-old woman, plea deals after 60-something arrests. An aggravated assault of a police officer, they pled it down. The difference is the guy didn't go to prison. Okay? This is what happens when you are soft on crime. And for those who say you can't send everyone to prison, this guy, the one that just brutally killed that sweet old 80-year-old woman, right? This guy, I'm telling you, look at his record. 64 to 67 times he had been arrested. That's a guy who needs to be in prison for as long as we can legally keep him there.
Yeah, that's why prison exists, Wayne. 64 to 60. It sounds exhausting. I mean, just the thought of going out, wouldn't it just be easier for him to get a job and live a life of honesty? But I guess we're asking rhetorical questions here. Here's another question. I know people wonder about this, and I know you've looked into this a lot. A lot of people blame Harris County Judge Lena Hidalgo for freeing all these thugs. Other people see it as more Kim Ogg's fault. Do you see her as being part of the problem? Who's really to blame here?
Yeah, again, they're all the problem, all right? We elected some of these liberal Democratic judges who give everyone PR bonds. We have a district attorney who is liberal, who has made plea deals. Look, deferred adjudication, right, which is one of those deals where they say, look, don't do it for 5 years again, and we'll take it off your record, right? A get out of jail free card.
Right.
We've done many stories on this. Let's take felons in possession of guns. I think whether you're on the left or the right, we can all agree, right, that gun shows aren't the problem. The big problem are felons, convicted felons who carry guns. They are the most likely people to commit crime. That's not like brain surgery here, right? Yet Kim Ogg has given 334 convicted felons who were busted for having a gun again deferred adjudication, which means you don't go to jail. Go back out.
Right.
Save yourself, right? And there's been assaults. There's been attempted murders. There's been attempts to rape people with those very same people as a result. The recidivism rate on these deferred adjudications, which is almost as bad as PR bonds, is like 40 to 50%. We are being stupid. And I'm telling you something. It is why crime is going up in this town. It's not because of this COVID nonsense. It's because we are making it too easy for criminals to get out of jails. And you know what? I live in near Braeswood and Solid Lake. We had gunshots the other night. My wife is scared, right? We get those citizen alerts on that Citizen app.
I don't blame her.
Blocks away. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
and I think the only solution, Ken, not to rant and rave, the only solution is to get these people out of office.
I'm with you on that,
Not
brother.
personal.
I'm with you on that. For those who have not seen his new video, Wayne Dolcefino, I'm sure a lot of you know him. He is one of the most well-known journalists in Houston. We have that video up at kprcradio.com. You can also find it at dolcefinoconsulting.com or on our sister station, ktrh.com. All that being said, Wayne, you are always working on independent investigations that seem to affect millions of people all over Southeast Texas. What's the next story for you?
Well, look, we're still investigating the Housing Authority because they are systematically taking $1 billion of apartments off the tax rolls so they can cut some deals to make some people rich, including Senator Ellis's wife. We're investigating soft on crime stuff. We will do another blood on your hands story soon. And we are so deep in so many investigations. Look, as the investigative media has disappeared, unfortunately, people have to hire guys like us to investigate stuff, right? It shouldn't be that way, but that's the way it evolves, right? And so we're willing to do anything. We're not scared of anybody. I don't care about the politics of it. Look, I want to clean up this city. You do too, Ken, right?
Of course.
And that's what's frustrating. Because before our eyes, at least the local media is waking up to it, before our eyes, right, we are seeing this city being ruined, I think. And I don't like it, and I will fight to stop it. And I want people to wake up. If people don't vote, if they don't get off their butts and vote, then we're all doomed. It's as simple as that.
It's as simple as that, Mr. Wayne Dolcefino. Elections have consequences. He's absolutely correct. Find that video right now at dolcefinoconsulting.com or find it on kprcradio.com.
Stop it, government. Get out of my life.
You're listening to The Pursuit of Happiness Radio.
If you are one of those people out there, you had a hard time over the past couple months finding toilet paper, your wife is in the bathroom, she's having an emergency, you've been experimenting with COVID cooking, and it hasn't always turned out the way you wanted it to. Sometimes that can result in a little bit of a catastrophe for your home's plumbing system, and I'm not here to judge you. Neither's my friend Nick. Nick's Plumbing. They've been in Houston since 1979. You can receive 10% off a drain cleaning right now. Give them a call. Pick up the phone, 713-868-9907. Nick's Plumbing is the best at what they do. Residential plumbing, commercial plumbing. They're even getting into HVAC services now. They're available practically 24 hours a day. They'll finance. If you need something fixed and you don't have the money right now, they have financing available, 12 months, no interest, no payments. For all things plumbing related, contact Nick. Nick is easy to find. Believe it or not, Nick's Plumbing has an easy website to remember, nicksplumbing.com.
This guy's got issues.
The issues we all face every day. Houston has the same problems everywhere else. Jamie Barrett, up next at 3. The difference is how we go about solving it.
950. Now. Traffic Center.
What up with you people? We had a little trouble getting the guest there, but no big deal. We now have callers on hold, 713-212-5950. If you guys want to get in on this, I'd love to hear from you. Let me get caught up on you guys' comments. Anthony says, Hail Hydra sums up this segment. LOL. You're probably not wrong about that. Arthur says, Feinstein's anti-Hugh challenge, Jew, he says. You know who really hates the Jews is de Blasio. Did you follow the New York City mayor on Twitter? It's like this guy's not even trying to hide it anymore. From one day to the next, he will go out and he'll tell all the Muslim people in New York, hey, we're going to go around to all the places where Muslim people gather together, and we're going to hand out boxed lunches. And then the next day on Twitter, he'll say, if we catch Jewish people gathering together in public, we will arrest you. Now he's gone so far as to say he's going to arrest Jewish kids, Jewish students, for gathering together in public places during the pandemic. Give me a fucking break. If you haven't seen the footage from New York City has to-go cocktails, yeah, like a lot of other people do. But remember that New York City is a place where it's already crowded. It's already congested. They all live on top of each other. And people are sick of being locked in their homes. So they're going to the bars, they're getting the cocktails to go, and then they're just standing out on the streets drinking cocktails and in front of the very restaurants, bars, and taverns where they got the drinks to go from. They're not arresting these people. The fact that de Blasio is taking to Twitter to threaten the Jewish kids says a lot about who de Blasio is. It verifies everything we've ever thought about the guy. Anyway, not a fan of de Blasio, to say the least. Kenny says bumper music loud as hell. My producer's learning. He's a young kid. Give him a chance. He's in his early 20s. He's too young to be a millennial, if you could believe that. I always think it's funny when radio listeners older than us, boomers, will criticize millennials. They go, these young college kids, millennials are too old to be in college, you guys. The millennials at this point, the millennials are getting audited. They're on their second or third home. They're getting divorced right now. The millennials are not the young, stupid kids anymore. Millennials have become Gen X. Gen X has become the boomers. And boomers are still boomers. No disrespect to the boomers. Jessica says, blame globalism. Blame the corpocracy. Hang on, I'm going on. People will consider buying an adjacent seat on their next flight. Not because of social distancing, but just more because their ass has doubled in size during the quarantine and they can no longer fit into one seat. And frankly, folks, I resemble that comment. Like a lot of you, I've put some weight on during this pandemic as I've spent most of my days eating tacos and drinking tequila from the comfort of my living room. But as I grow fatter and fatter by the day, I do wonder, whatever happened to the other guy who was running for president this year? Of all the people that were affected by COVID-19, there's one guy we were hearing from all the time. Now we never hear about him anymore. Not Joe Biden or who's that other guy? The NBC, the host of The Apprentice. I guess he's president now. I'm talking about the aging socialist who basically disappeared into obscurity as soon as this crisis began. You know, the guy who talks funny.
Hello, America. It's me again, Bernard Sanders, your friendly neighborhood seven-figure socialist. I know you haven't heard from me since I dropped out. Quarantining isn't so bad when I can keep myself busy by counting my cheddar. As you may have heard, I am unlikely to run for president again. Believe it or not, I'm not as young as I used to be.
No.
My main goal in 2020 is going to be surviving coronavirus, publishing another book, and spending as much money as I can while I'm still alive.
I hear you.
I know you're gonna miss me as I fade off into obscurity.
Well,
but don't be sad. While I may eventually go away, I have built the mold for future generations of rich socialist politicians. If you're surprised by my money and fame, just wait until you see what AOC and Ilhan Omar are gonna do in the years to come.
Oh, God.
In a way, I'm kinda like the MC Hammer to their Jay-Z and Kanye.
What?
I started this socialist rap game, and I'm not about to be forgotten, chump.
Huh.
What? You don't like rap analogies?
No.
Okay, then in that case, I'm kinda like a socialist Michael Jordan to their LeBron and D-Wade. Or I am the Hydrox to their Oreo and Members Mark wafers.
I gotcha.
Or maybe I'm just the Karl Marx to the Joseph Stalin and Vladimir Lenin.
Yeah.
I made far leftism seem normal to a healthy portion of American society. Socialism is here to stay. Enjoy the bitter aftertaste of left on your country while I enjoy retirement.
No thanks.
Like a 12-hour skid mark left on the pair of white underpants. You're gonna remember me.
Huh.
So long for now. And remember, kiss my ass, America.
And now it's time for
Random facts.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I love random facts. I guess you could say I'm pretty gay for history. The guy who invented Velcro, you may or may not know this, the guy who invented Velcro got the idea when he was walking his dog in the woods and he saw how burrs were clinging to its fur. I don't know if struggling to go to the bathroom was part of that, but I imagine it probably was. My dog has a hard time squatting when... Anyway, did you guys know that Chuck in the name Chuck Norris is not short for Charles? Guys, I'm about to change your whole reality of Walker, Texas Ranger. Chuck in Chuck Norris is short for Carlos. I know, it's unbelievable. Also, in the original, this is going to disgust you, but it's true. In the original version of Sleeping Beauty, the story from the 1500s, the prince does not kiss the princess to wake her up. He impregnates her while she's sleeping. And she wakes up when the child is born. Wow. I wonder why Disney didn't include that in their version. Did you know that boxers and their managers did not originally throw a towel into the ring to give up? In the 18th and 19th century, they threw a sponge into the ring. And finally, here's one more fun fact, because I know how you guys are gay for facts. The United States has only formally declared war 5 times. There was the War of 1812, the Mexican-American War, the Spanish-American War. We really had a thing about those Hispanics. World War I and World War II. The rest of the wars were technically military engagements, and that's why war to this day continues all over the earth. And nobody really seems to mind, because if you don't call it war, I guess it's not as interesting. 713-212-5950 if you want to call the show. 866-I-LOVE-WJ also works, just letting you know. Ahmed calling from Houston.
Yes, sir.
Ahmed, I have not spoken to you lately, sir. How are you?
Yeah, good. Actually, you get really kind of upset and disappointed with all this political thing and political issues.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is a political consultant.
I know.
All about politics. Democrats, Republican, right and left, all just to talk, in my opinion, talk and money.
I hear you.
It is. When I give up the position or the nomination of County Judge in year 14 to Judge Emmett, I give it to him for America. It's not because Democrat or Republican or whatever. When he has some vital projects to do for Harris County, I told him, God bless America, 5 million people more important than me. How many people in America did this? Give the power and this hundreds of thousands of dollars and all this. I didn't get a thank you. I paid for my coffee.
You're right. You did not get a thank you. Hang on a second, everybody. Let's all thank Ahmed as a group. Ready, everybody? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you, Ahmed. I know there's only one person here in the studio with me, Ahmed, but I know all of our thousands of listeners thanked you.
My friend, God bless America. Honestly, I wish I can do more and more. It's just the problem is people do all this now for money and power and how much he can get out.
Ahmed, forgive me for interrupting you. You're Egyptian, are you not?
Again?
Are you you're Egyptian? Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes.
I am curious. Now, I have noticed here in the year 2020, intersectionality is very important, Ahmed. Do you know what intersectionality is?
Kind of.
It's okay. Intersectionality is a word that leftists throw around a lot. It means intersectionality like I'm a white heteronormative cisgendered male. I don't have any intersectionality. My wife, she's a woman. That checks off one mark on intersectionality. AOC is a woman who is single. She's a millennial, and she's a minority. She's Hispanic. That's 4 things right there. Lena Hidalgo, the current Harris County judge, I know you're familiar with her. She checks off many things. She is a young millennial. She is an immigrant. She is a woman. She is a Hispanic. Now, I don't check off anything, but you do, Ahmed, and I'm curious, would you be willing to challenge, for the good of Harris County, for the good of Southeast Texas, Ahmed, would you be willing to challenge Lena Hidalgo for her position?
No.
Why not?
My son is young. He ran for county commissioner, Eric Hassan, but not me. Anymore, I would help in any way I can, but not for political position, really. But I just don't have that desire, but I help in any way I can.
How about HISD? Would you do something with our school district?
No, nothing, not a position, just helping from the side to any organization, any group.
All right, how about
good
this?
Group or good,
how about president of the HOA? Would you do that?
President of the United States is okay.
President of the year. Oh, you would run for president of the United States. Ahmed, I hate to break it to you, buddy. If you think running for county commissioner is too much work, you're going to hate running for president. Ahmed, I am grateful for you.
You know what? It's not easy, really. It's people, they joking, they talking, that guy is not good, that guy is whatever. You know what? It's not an easy position.
He's right, Ahmed. It's not an easy position. Ahmed, you speak words of truth, and I appreciate you for them. For those of you listening to me live right now on terrestrial radio, my buddy Jimmy Barrett joins us next, a fantastic broadcaster. Stick around. He's got a good show for you, followed by Jesse Kelly, Charles Adams, Buck Sexton, a full afternoon and evening of live radio. Now, for those of you watching me live right now at Facebook.com, YouTube, Twitter, or Periscope, the after show starts in a few short moments. So join me online. We're going to be talking about, have you heard about this guy, Sleepy Joe Biden? We're going to talk about him and a lot more. In the meantime, I hope you all have a great afternoon. God bless you. Question authority. I'll see you tomorrow morning on Walton and Johnson.
Listening to the Pursuit of Happiness Radio. Tell the government to kiss your ass when you listen to the show.
There will be a podcast. Check it out at kprcradio.com or our iHeartRadio app.
Are you aware of what's actually in the CARES Act that might benefit you? The Retirement Plan Relief Program.
Hey guys, I just got to record a promo. We'll start in 1 short minute.
At STA Wealth, we've been keeping our clients up to date on the markets, the economy, and retirement concerns during this difficult time that affects us all. We've created the STA Coronavirus Resource Center. That is your go-to source for the latest news and information on the impact of the pandemic. We want to help you get a handle on the changes we're facing, from SBA business loans to tax relief updates from the IRS. Our website, stawealth.com, features many helpful articles and tools to assist you in better understanding how your money can work for you even in stressful times and volatile markets. You'll also find the Retirement Survival Guide, the Recession Survival Guide, and the Layoff Survival Guide. You can register for our free weekly market report, which will come to your inbox. It's an in-depth look at global markets, plus local and timely market analysis.
Hey, everybody. I got a lot I did not get a chance to do today on the show. Where was I? Let's see. Here's something interesting. This week, it would appear that the new confusing left-wing talking point is claiming the line, believe all women, is a right-wing talking point. It's something the left seems to say a lot. It's not. It's actually something liberals used to say all the time, believe all women. Have you guys heard about this? As recently as 2 years ago, you may remember the Brett Kavanaugh Supreme Court justice hearings. Believe all women, I think was something Alyssa Milano held on a poster in front of TV cameras. They created a whole movement called Me Too and Time's Up. But now, in the wake of Joe Biden's 10th sexual misconduct accusation, it suddenly comes to mean something else. Tom Rogan at the Washington Examiner reports that when conservative Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh was accused of sexual assault, feminists on the left told us we should believe his accusers. They said it wasn't merely that we should take his accusers seriously, we should work hard to overcome a societal bias against believing women, that if you did not blindly believe the accusers, you were part of the problem, and so too was the catchphrase, believe all women. There was at the time this presumptive Democrat presidential nominee, you may have heard about him, who's now been accused of sexual assault. But for some reason, when he said believe all women or believe women back in 2018, it doesn't seem that he believes that anymore. I'm speaking, of course, about Joe Biden. Have you heard about this guy? It's quite obviously rank hypocrisy, and it exposes a darkly cynical game the Democrats play when it comes to sexual assault. Maybe they believe the charges against Biden. Maybe they don't. Maybe they didn't believe the charges against Kavanaugh. Maybe they did. Whichever one it is, it's a foul. They seem to agree with something without looking at evidence, or not agreeing with something based on what's convenient at the moment. See, there's a journalist named Susan Faludi. She tried to ride to the rescue with a piece in the New York Times, I believe, called Believe All Women is a Right-Wing Trap. She points out that the Twitter hashtag Believe All Women is being used by conservative critics more than it's being used by liberal feminists. Technically, that's true. Does this mean that believe women more than you otherwise would? Or believe all women? Did it mean believe all women now or believe all women when it's convenient? See, during the Kavanaugh hearings, Democrats used to mean the latter. They meant to believe women, not necessarily evidence, but to believe women. Here we have a Democratic congresswoman. You may have heard of her before. Her name is Carolyn Maloney. On Twitter yesterday, she proclaimed, we stand with, not yesterday, but in 2018, she said, we stand with Dr. Christine Blasey Ford and all the other accusers of Brett Kavanaugh. It's an interesting thing. This woman by no means is alone in her opinions that we need to believe Christine Blasey Ford, but for some reason, she does not believe all women when it's Tara Reade. You may have heard of a feminist liberal author and a spokesperson for the Me Too movement, Jill Filipovic. She said, feminists never said believe all women. The right inserted all. Feminists said believe women. That's it. Start with the assumption that women are telling the truth instead of reflexively doubting them. Guys, this is definitely something that feminists said. Believe all women. Joe Biden said it. They claim feminists never said this. They said it. Their tweets are still on the internet. Representative Catherine Clark, October 4th, 2018, posted a video of Christine Blasey Ford with the words democracy in action and the hashtag we believe Christine, believe all women. It's right there on the internet. It's still there for anybody to see. Catherine Clark, an elected official that Susan, what's her name, actually endorsed. The founding editor of a feminist magazine, Jezebel, her name is Julie Zellinger. In September 27th, 2018 said perpetrators can have friends who are women, not violate them. Hashtag believe all women. Hashtag Kavanaugh Ford. I could keep giving you an example over after example, guys. You could click hashtag believe all women, and there they all are, all the staff members of Elizabeth Warren and the Me Too movement, Alyssa Milano and Rose McGowan. Believe all women is something they all said. We could probably produce hundreds or even thousands of examples noteworthy to this argument. Believe all women was a slogan that they once tried to convey something valuable. It's now meaningless. It wasn't the right wing that hijacked it. It was the left wing who abused it, sodomized it, and aborted it. And now they seem to believe it doesn't matter anymore. Well, that's their fault. And when they lose the election in November, they'll come to realize that even though they may be pandering to people on the far left and giving them exactly what they want, people on the far left don't pick the president. Moderates and centrists do. And right now, if you have a BS meter, you are sniffing out bullshit left and right all over the place with these people. There's never been more of it. At least not during our lifetime. Something else we didn't have time to get to today on the show. I wanted to do a segment on, let's see, I can't find my notes. I'll tell you what we're going to do tomorrow. Here we go. No, I don't have it here. I wanted to do something on the show today about, tomorrow I'm going to do something on UFOs. I don't have time to get to it right now, but we'll do it tomorrow. In the meantime, since I have your attention, let's get caught up with the comments, what you awesome people are over here talking about right now. Let's see, where were we? So many comments to react to. Part of the problem with this new system is that I've now got like 500 comments to read, and they look weird on my screen, so forgive me if I move a little slowly here. But Ted makes the argument the boomers are the sons of the greatest generation. That is correct, they are. I'm curious now, who do you guys find to be the most and least tolerable? The boomers, the Gen Xers, the Zoomers, or the millennials? Arthur says, I'm a millennial who lives with my mom, but I got a boat and a job. Well, if you have a boat, Arthur, that's all that matters, brother. Jordan says the commies are really good at embalming. Lenin is still on display. So many Bernie can get the same treatment. I personally think the communists should have left up all the Soviet statues after the Soviet army and the USSR crumbled. And I feel that way for the same reason I think we should keep up the Confederate war statues. I think we have to remember history. There's so many people that seem to believe taking down these statues will correct the wrongs of history, and it's just not true. Let's see here. Kenny says Carlos is Spanish for Charles. Yes, I know. Arthur says Joe Biden sniffed her hair. Jordan says I love facts. Arthur says Sleeping Beauty. Ricky on Twitter says, hey, Ken, I listen to Walton and Johnson, and I've been meaning to check you out, so this is the first time tuning in. Well, welcome, Ricky. Everybody say hi to Ricky. There are not a lot of people watching on YouTube, almost 100 on Facebook, and I have no idea how many people are watching on Periscope because it doesn't tell me. Arthur says Texas put a big old-fashioned boot up Mexico's ass in 1836. It's true. Arthur says, tell homeboy to grab me a beer. I could go for a beer, too. Kevin says, if you saw Allah, would you give him $1? That's a great question. Sound off in the comments section, guys. If you saw Allah, would you give him $1? I don't know what the answer is. Let's see here. Arthur says, Allah och dollar. Let's see here. Arthur says, I'm dyslexic as hell, but I'm down for the school shit. Hey, me too, bro. Debbie says, kiss my ass, government. Matt says, okay now, I found everybody. Glad you're back. Some people saying goodbye. You don't have to leave. There is an after show. I hang out, and I swear, people always claim they enjoy that. John says Microsoft store at the Woodlands will open on June 26. Are you freaking kidding me? What do you think about that, John? Why do you disagree with that? Because Bill Gates told us all to social distance? Is that why you're saying that? It's a valid point. My understanding is Bill Gates is no longer in control at Microsoft. Didn't he step down or hand over? Am I wrong about that? Is someone else now the CEO or the CEO? Perhaps I misunderstood. My understanding is he's not in charge at Microsoft anymore. The current guy is Satya Nadella. And he's been in charge since 2014, but more recently, Bill Gates has really limited his role at Microsoft. He has almost nothing to do with it anymore, but I still get your point. And fuck Microsoft. Matt says, better be there in the morning, LOL. One of the things I don't understand about socialists and young progressives is their love affair with Bill Gates. Everything they claim to hate about billionaires, the idea that they abuse the government and misuse their power, and they have their lobbyists bribe politicians so they could destroy their enemies and make the marketplace unfair. Bill Gates is the poster boy for doing this. In the 1980s, in the 1990s, there is an unlimited number of Silicon Valley tech upstarts who basically got crushed because they had an idea that Microsoft noticed, absorbed, replicated, and then destroyed their opponent, sued the fuck out of them until they didn't exist anymore, and then won, and then stole the idea because their lawyers were bigger and badder, and they were able to, blow down the houses of their enemies. It happened over and over again. Back in the 1980s and the 90s, this was a common thing. And back then, Bill Gates was a kid, you know? Now he's an old man. He's retired from public life. He isn't retired from public life, but he stepped back from his role at Microsoft. And now he claims he's very concerned about stopping the next pandemic, helping people. I'm not one of those people. I don't personally believe that Bill Gates is solely responsible for coronavirus. I think that's a stretch. Yes, it's true that people like Bill Gates, Dr. Fauci, Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, and the United States, for whatever it's worth, have donated a lot of money to this virology lab, this Wuhan biological warfare lab, which apparently is where this virus comes from. But I wouldn't solely put that on Bill Gates. That being said, I don't see him as this great arbitrator of morality that the left seems to believe that he is. I'm just not buying it. Judge says, when will the big reopening party be? Is it too soon yet? I want to throw a party. I just get the impression that nobody else does. And it's hard to find a venue for that, but I want to do it soon. If anybody knows of a good venue in a central location where we can get together with listeners and have a COVID-19 party is over party, please let me know. I'd love to do it. I think we might need to wait until phase 3 to do it without upsetting management here at the radio station, but something I'm looking forward to. Daniel says, I like to think the after show like happy hour with Kenny dropping F-bombs. That's exactly what it is. Matt says, my first time. Well, welcome, Matt. Everybody say hi to Matt. Jordan says, ladies, should we believe all women? Tell me what to think about what other women say, please. Yeah, I'd like to know as well. Most women don't believe neo-feminists. Neo-feminism, you have to understand, feminism's come in like 3 or 4 waves, right? There was the right to vote feminists, the burning bra feminists, and now there's this new wave of feminists. Now that women truly are equal, there's this misnomer that because there aren't more Fortune 500 CEOs or billionaires who are women, that somehow women aren't equal, but it's just not true. Women are equal in every sense of the word. Women are able to do anything they want in the marketplace, in the free market, in the job market. But the question becomes, why don't we see more women who are Fortune 500 CEOs? And I think there's a very good reason why that is. I think women are more reasonable than men. Women don't necessarily want to be Fortune 500 CEOs, and there's a reason why. Being a Fortune 500 CEO means you have to do 4 or 5 things. You have to be incredibly healthy, you have to be incredibly intelligent, and you have to be willing to work 90 to 100 hours a week. There's a lot of women out there with law degrees and doctorates who probably are more than capable of becoming CEOs of a Fortune 500 company, but they probably don't want to. They're content to make $1 million a year as a doctor or a lawyer rather than being the head of this giant company because maybe they want to take off on Saturday and Sunday, and there's nothing wrong with that. The other thing you have to understand is just because women are equal to men now doesn't mean that men are going to stop working hard to get that carrot hanging at the end of the stick in front of the donkey. Men are still going to work just as hard as they ever have to succeed in the marketplace or to succeed in the job market. The fact that men and women are equal right now doesn't mean that men are going to step back and go, all right, it's your turn to rule the world. Men are still going to be just as competitive as they ever have been. And anybody that disagrees with that point, I'd like to bring up the Silicon Valley company that went defunct in 2018, known as Theranos. Theranos was led by Elizabeth Holmes. Elizabeth Holmes is a woman. She is a millennial. She was obsessed with Steve Jobs. Therefore, she would often wear a turtleneck around because she wasn't a good dresser, I guess. And back in 2003, 19-year-old Elizabeth Holmes raised more than $700 million from venture capitalists and private investors. She was going to create a company that was essentially going to devise blood tests that could figure out with just a small amount of blood, they could very rapidly figure out what was wrong with your autoimmune system, what kind of health issues you would have moving forward. It was a tech company that was supposed to predict the next health crisis, among other things. So Elizabeth Holmes got all this money. She became the youngest billionaire of our lifetime, the wealthiest self-made female billionaire. But the company eventually went bankrupt back in 2018. Why is that? Well, the company went bankrupt because Elizabeth Holmes was lying to people. She never had the technology. She never had the wherewithal. She never had the knowledge to do any of these things. And I bring all this up not to suggest that women are incompetent, but that there was, in fact, a woman very recently during our lifetime who sought to do all these things that feminists claim they want women to do. And when it was revealed that she was some scam artist, all the feminists, Elizabeth Warren, Dianne Feinstein, Nancy Pelosi, all these people who frothed at the mouth worshiping this young woman suddenly were nowhere to be found. They had no interest in defending her, no interest in suggesting she'd done nothing wrong, and they erased from their social media timelines any validation or endorsement they'd ever given this woman. So again, it's not that women can't do these things. It's not that women aren't capable of doing it. Often is the case is they just don't want to. Men are driven. There are biological differences between men and women. If you choose to ignore that, that's fine, but that means you choose to ignore reality. And men are biologically driven to try to rule the world, to try to become rich and powerful. Women are driven to be affluent. They're driven to be comfortable. In many cases, they're driven to be powerful. Look at Janet Reno or Angela Merkel, the head of Germany. Certainly these women exist out there, but not on the level that like a Donald Trump exists or a Vladimir Putin or a Bill Gates or a Steve Jobs. There's something about men and the way that they're wired that men will continue to work hours after they're too tired to work, hours after they're too exhausted to go out and think reasonably or accomplish their goal. When they're running on zero, driven by nothing more than endorphins and some drive or force inside of them, well after their bellies are empty and they've ran out of energy. What is it that drives a man to go out and try to rule the world, try to earn more money? Look, I know this is an unpopular opinion, but it's just not a drive that women necessarily have. It's not to say that women are lazy. Women often work harder than men. It's not to say that women aren't as smart as men. Women in college and high school generally tend to perform better than men on standardized testing and on GPAs. Women are more likely to go to college than men. They're more likely to graduate from college than men. So why is it that men continue to rule the world? It's that driving force. It's that thing that you can't calculate with a blood test from Theranos or with CDC testing. It's that thing that we can't exactly explain that drives men to do these things. The world isn't an unfair place. Men and women are just different, and there is no third gender. And anybody that doesn't understand that, anyone who doesn't acknowledge that, are being driven by emotion, not facts. They are being driven by anger and resentment, not by logic, not by common sense. Be the latter. Don't be the former. It's up to you guys. I say all that to make this point. I desperately need a haircut. I love all you guys. Timothy asked the question, why do women not lie? Women lie. Sure they do. Anthony says a feminist group named after Jezebel. Wow. I'm going back and reading some of your old comments here. Jezebel is a very popular feminist news rag. It's a blog website. A lot of stupid information that feminist parrot started on Jezebel. I'll give you an example of this. Feminists believed that Mike Pence was going to enslave women if he became vice president and force them to become like a version of the Handmaid's Tale. And of course, none of that was true. Mike Pence has no interest in enslaving women. But for some reason, feminists are obsessed with this idea that men want to enslave them, almost to the point where you wonder if it turns them on. What is it that feminists, have you seen the TV show Handmaid's Tale? My wife, who is not a neo-feminist, and yours truly, who is not a feminist either, we tried to give that show a shot, and about halfway through the first episode, my wife, who is disgusted by the thought of women being mistreated, abused, raped, didn't want to watch the show. So why is it that this neo-feminist fourth wave of feminism, why are they so obsessed with that TV show? Honestly, guys, I don't know. I don't get it. I'm not sure. There's a part of me that wonders if they like it. Back in the 1970s, Bernie Sanders wrote an op-ed for the Vermont Free Press, or some old magazine that doesn't exist anymore. And he talked about at the time how women fantasize about being gang raped. Where did he get this thought from? What was it that made this young progressive socialist write an article, write an essay about how women want to be gang raped? Well, the chances are it probably had something to do with the kind of women he was hanging out with and the things that they were telling him in private conversation. I find it to be a very dangerous idea that some progressive women fantasize about being ruled by men, enslaved by men. But still, I can't deny that I wonder if it's true sometimes. I find it to be a disgusting notion, but I wonder, do they think it's disgusting? Why are they so obsessed with it? Jordan says, speaking of fuck Microsoft, I was with a woman that was complaining about one of her exes, and I think y'all can guess the rest. That's an old joke, but I'll allow it, Jordan. I like that joke. Chris says industrial espionage is just dream grabbing for lefties. Yeah, that's exactly right. It's the same thing I was just talking about. They love these corrupt intelligence agencies. They love industrial espionage. John says, unfortunately, their Surface Pro meets all my checkboxes for the new computer I need for classes. Guys, I'm on Microsoft right now. I don't have to like something to use it, but I get your point. Daniel says, most of my Microsoft sucks, but I can't play Halo on any other platform. I hear you, bro. Look, you don't have to like Microsoft to use it. You could be a critic of it. You could criticize America and still appreciate it, right? Leonard says, hey, Deb. Everybody say hi to Deb. Anthony says, the dolls don't nag either. Nita says, gotta run. I love Nita. Nita's the best. Daniel says, I wouldn't want to be a CEO. I'm not a huge fan of working overtime or talking on the phone all day. I hear you. Arthur says, if women ruled the world, the United States would have an island bar and a fucking garden with a pool. It's interesting. Matt says, hell no, Dallas sucks. Amanda says, men and women are different. We should celebrate those differences. I agree. Instead of denying that they exist, we should celebrate them. Matt says, I like my Texans and my Tennessee Oilers. Jordan says, I love those things that girls have that I don't have. Me too. I love that my wife is different than me. I love that my wife can look at a color and tell me if it's navy blue or black, and I can't tell. My wife will point at something and tell me if it's lavender or purple. I don't know what the difference is. Edward says, hot take, more women, I'm sorry, let me scroll down. More women are just driven to succeed and become bosses just to boss men around. Interesting. Matt says, I also support Denver when I'm in Colorado. Broncos ain't that bad. Kirk says, catch you later. Damn conference calls. We appreciate you, my friend. Hey, share this video if you guys have never seen one of my videos before. I appreciate if you do. Hello to all the new viewers on YouTube. Most people watch these. We're restreaming on multiple platforms. And I could see that very few people are watching on YouTube compared to the amount of people watching on Facebook. It's like 100 times more people on Facebook. But whatever. I don't know. I'm trying to get more YouTube followers because you never know. It's nice to have them out there. Kirk says, catch you later. We'll see you later. Arthur says, my pops had a hatch fall on him, and he is still working. That's horrible. I hate that. Stacy says, feminism helped ruin America. I would argue that neo-feminism helped ruin America. I don't have a problem with women voting. I don't have a problem with women burning bras. It's this new era of feminists who look at any minor difference between men and women and suggest that that's what's wrong with society itself. Greetings to Daryl. Everybody say hi to him. Amanda says, I like being a woman and all that it entails, and I like men being men and all that that entails. Why would we want to be the same? I don't know, but I will say this. We all enter this world and leave it with the same stuff. We're all pink in the middle. You've heard me say it before. God made us all equal, but he made us all different. And when we all get to the pearly gates, we don't take anything with us, but our actions and our good intentions are only as good as those who act on them. I love all you guys. I will see you tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. on over a dozen radio stations around the Gulf. Please tell your friends about the show. That's all we ask. That's all we need from you guys. Dino says hi. Hey, Dino. Good to see you. I'll see all you guys tomorrow. God bless. Please be safe out there. I appreciate you. Please tell your friends about the show, and we